me I had to use a railing. I am very honored tonight to be with all of you tonight and to start the invitation of all the people who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Excuse me. I was very happy last December when Therese called me and asked me if I would do the introduction and introducing her to the Hall of Fame golf tournament. Well, Therese, the day is here, and here we are. Not only I was amazed at her accomplishments and the immense contribution she's made to the sport, but to her characteristic integrity and hard work. I've had the privilege of knowing the Hession family 45 to 48 years. I remember back in the early 60s, Mr. Hession, Jim Hession, came over to the pro shop and had this little girl and asked me to give her a couple lessons. And he wanted to get her some clothes. Well, she was out practicing, hitting golf balls, and we were deciding what we're going to pick. I said, Jim, I don't have any children's clothes, I got ladies' clothes. Well, between the two of us, our best to be her fashion designer, you can only imagine what happened. But she did not complain. I had noticed her chipping and putting, and I know she had a good chance of doing well in golf. So, let's see what I said here. She never wanted to leave the golf course. It was 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm ready. I've been there 12 hours, but it was dark, and she said, we got to stay and practice till the end. So we did. Her parents were very, very wonderful people. Jim was a very successful man in the business, and I happened to learn a lot from him. Therese, I have no doubt that he and your mother are very proud of you. Throughout Therese's entire career, junior golf, college golf, and while she played the tour, during all these years as a coach at Ohio State, the support of her family. I can assure this because I watched this for the last few years. Joe, Tommy, Mary, Aaron, they had 5 players on the Ohio State team. There was a Hession in every group following them every round. So the support of the family was very, very much instrumental in their doing of golf. Therese's dedication to the game of golf was very evident at an early age. I remember we lived over right there by Brendanwood by Cathedral High School. Therese lived on 56th Street in the Brendan Ridge area. Her and Mary, on Saturday afternoons, would get on their bicycles. And back then, Arlington Avenue was a 2-lane road. They would drive their bicycles all the way to 38th Street to the Hardee's, or what is it? Burger Chef. For $1 lunches. But that wasn't the end. They would stay for 3-4 hours and practice their putting to make sure their putt-putt game was in shape. In her younger days, she also had the opportunity to practice her short game. Therese and Mary stood in their backyard. I'm not sure if you, but you can imagine this. It's 50 yards across the highway, across the street. They would stand there and hit balls across the street into the neighbor, into the, the Unitarian Church playground. So that's how they developed their short game. Words can hardly express, Therese, how much fun it has been for me following your career as a player, and proud I am to see you working and doing what you're doing now. I'll never forget in 1977 when you won the state amateur championship at Hillcrest. I was very happy for that. And watching you turn the big championship, win the Big Ten championship the last 2 years at the Fort in the spring, it was really a full circle back to the old stomping grounds. I could go on and on, but you can read the program about Therese's accomplishment. But what I and many of you know is that it is her love for her family, love of the game, and the lead and her heart and soul that she puts into her coaching. That is what makes her a legend worthy of being inducted into the Indiana Hall of Fame. Please join me in congratulating Therese for this great honor.
kind of was yelling all in at a football game on the weekend, so my voice I lost it today, and I'm just praying it can hold up for about 5 minutes so I can make a few comments. But thank you, Mr. Kinich, for the kind introduction. And I stand before you all tonight, humbled, honored, and to a certain extent in disbelief about the honor bestowed upon me tonight. When I received the call from Matt Shepard, I literally was speechless, and I'm not gonna lie, brought me to tears. God has blessed me to travel all over the world and to compete and learn from the best in the game. But deep down in my heart, I'm just a Hoosier. And I always feel Indiana as my home. To be recognized by the Indiana Golf Foundation in this fashion is one of the greatest honors I've ever received. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to take a moment to congratulate the Ann Gregory family. Although I never had the privilege of meeting her, she was indeed an amazing lady with a determination and a toughness in a league of her own. What many of us take for granted was a gigantic hurdle for Ann. I admire her toughness and determination, and it is my honor to be linked in a class with her forever. I also want to congratulate my longtime friend, teammate, and competitor, Kyle O'Brien Stevens. Kyle and I first met here on the 6th fairway, right at the dog leg in the fairway. Of course, we hit our drives in the fairway when we were 12 years old. Little did I know what a significant person she would be in my life. Many people ask if we pushed each other, and to a certain extent, I'm sure we did. But both of us were so motivated and determined, I sometimes wonder if it would even made a difference. I cannot tell you how many putting matches we had. The putting green right on the other side of this building. Sometimes the putting match started down by the parking lot and went up through the bushes and all the way across the green to the farthest hole. It's true. We didn't damage anything, I promise. Who knows how many holes we've played together, but we'll always share the amazing honor of the National Collegiate Golf Championship played at Oklahoma State University. It still remains one of my fondest memories in golf. And I'll always be grateful to my parents and family supporting me. My burning desire to play this game. I know I drove my parents crazy, I probably drove my brothers crazy, and I know I drove my sister crazy. But although neither are alive to see how my careers involved, I know the great lessons they knew that golf would teach our family, especially my sister and I. I'm eternally grateful for their 100% support every step of the way. And I do have a confession to make since we're here at Hillcrest. Many times, there was a rule, if you were not 13 years old, you couldn't play till after 4 o'clock. Well, Dad, I was only 12 and Dad told him I was 13. So we could get off at 2 o'clock, at 18 holes. So now that I got that off my chest. But many times he would play in the morning with the guys and then he'd come and play with me in the afternoon and my sister. So he was doing 36-hole days back then. And then my poor mom would drag us here, and we literally would stay here all day long, so they never really had to worry too much about where we were at. And then poor Dad, after work, would always have to come back over here and hit balls until the sun went down and take us home. But I absolutely would not be here tonight without the guidance and support of the Kinich family, particularly my pro, Ed Kinich. I cannot count all the hours and efforts he put into my development as early as my days at the fort and later here at Hillcrest. And In the days at the fort, you know, it was only a 9-hole golf course, and at the beginning they didn't really have a driving range, so you know, he would tell me to come out there about 7 o'clock at night, so once everyone got teed off that was going to play 9 holes before dark, we would have our lesson right on the first tee. And I'd hit all the balls, and then I'd just run down the hill and pick them all up, and so they'd all be clean for the next morning. And there used to be a little bunker right on the side of the tee box, and that's where I learned to hit bunker shots as well. And those last 2 years at the Big Ten Championship, I was literally crying on the first tee because I remember those were my first lessons right there, and I tried to tell my team about the bunker on the side of the hill, and I think they just really thought I'd lost it. But the other thing that happened to me in that first fairway over at the fort, I had the privilege to be, Mr. Knitsch told me one day, he goes, Patty Berg's gonna come here and do an exhibition for Wilson. I'm like, oh my gosh, Patty Berg. And he goes, would you like to be her caddy? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't sleep for weeks. So I was so pumped up, and I got that Wilson staff bag on my shoulder, and Patty hit it right down the middle of the fairway, got down there, and put the bag down. She goes, how far do I have to the hole? I said, oh, no. She said to me, you never, ever, ever, ever hit a shot when you don't know how far it is to the hole. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And I think to this day, I drive my team crazy knowing exactly how far it is to the pin. So that's a lesson I learned from Patty Berg. Plus, I was so humiliated, it was unbelievable. My other story, Mr. Knitsch used to come by the pro shop to go over to the 10th tee. And we'd be back on the back tee, and we'd get ready, just standing right over to drive on that par 5, and all of a sudden that siren would go off every time on the side of the pro shop. He'd come barreling around the corner, and he's like, you ought to be able to deal with any kind of distractions if you're ever going to play on the team someday. So every time I teed off on 10, I was expecting that alarm to go off. And the other thing that he taught me too was never have dirty clubs. So to this day, every iron I have is as clean as a whistle whenever I fit. It never goes back in the bag without being perfectly clean. So that's another lesson I learned from my pro. But most importantly, Mr. Knitsch was someone who believed in me and pushed me to be the best player and person I could be. I'm truly blessed. And I now have the privilege to use my golf experiences to impact many bright young players. It's kind of ironic how this comes full circle. From the experienced old lady to the many young people out here tonight, I say dream big. Go on, get out of your comfort zone. Do one more than you thought was ever possible. I remember, I can't tell you how many times I putted to win the US Open. And although I got to play in 7 Opens, I never really had a putt to win the Open. But I had hundreds and hundreds of putts in my mind to win the US Open. And it doesn't matter what other people think or believe, but spend time in that dream. Be all in, and do it with life balance and relentless commitment that others may just talk about, but they're not really willing to do. Above all else, do it in a fashion that makes everyone around you better. Thank you all again for this amazing evening and this honor that I will cherish forever with those who have helped me every step of the way. Thank you.